Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a reading for Scorpio moon signs, or for those with significant Scorpio placements and are needing a feminine energy to work with or balance within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Scorpio, let's get started. So we have at the bottom of the deck this alchemical wedding card, which I love so much because it talks about like a celebration or marking the occasion of something, or like you've achieved at least like some sort of milestone or stepping stone, or like you've achieved something and it's like a moment to celebrate that, like taking a moment to celebrate whatever this momentous occasion is for you. You also have here underneath that the Quicksilver and the Breath card. So Quicksilver is the energy of Mercury. So it does talk about like communication. But it's interesting. I was more so drawn towards like these like things on the outside, because one of the cards that you have in your spread today is the Benevolent Guide. So there's like 4 points here. This could be related to the Cancer Sun reading from yesterday, because yesterday there was an energy of the word cardinal was like significant in yesterday's reading. And one of the things that I forgot to mention in yesterday's reading was like the cardinal directions, right? Like north, south, east, west. So that's what I'm seeing in this, in these two cards today, like like the directions, or like the points on a compass, for example, or on a map. So like, I don't know, something about reaching a destination, maybe. Like you've reached some sort of destination on a map, like a marker or a point, or I don't know, something like that. You also have here, okay, you also have here the Lizard card, which talks about like needing to withdraw from, or like pull back from some sort of energy of like being in a big group or being in large crowds or that kind of thing, because of like some sort of sensitivity to a lot of energies. So it could be that you're feeling very sensitive to big groups or just a lot of energies in whatever way, and perhaps needing to withdraw and connect to some aspect of like your inner artist was what was coming through here. It's so interesting. At the underneath this, the Lizard, the Stingray card. I haven't seen this card in such a long time. It talks about like a radical transformation, but also, or accepting radical change, but also some sort of realignment perhaps within your energy that might be taking place. And at the bottom of this deck, which is so interesting, the Knight of Emotions came out in reverse. So it was because the last time I used this deck, I must have put it back in the deck upside down, because I don't normally take I don't use reversals in my decks. So there's no such thing as coincidences. So the Knight of Cups coming out in reverse, I feel like maybe there's something, I was getting something about like we receive the type of love that we think that we deserve, like that kind of energy. So maybe there's something about like maybe there's some sort of love or form of love or something like that that is wanting to come in, but perhaps Scorpio, maybe you feel like you don't deserve it or something like that. It doesn't have to be so extreme in terms of like the language that I'm using, but like maybe there's some form of love that is coming in for you, but maybe you're not open to receiving that, or it's like that, it's kind of like perhaps something that you're not used to, or I don't know, something like that. Anyways, so the first two alchemy cards out you have here, the darkening and the yellowing, which is so interesting. So these are the both two of the color cards that are in this deck. The darkening card does talk about sort of like quiet and withdrawing from, especially from sort of like, so maybe so it just is talking about inward, going inward, perhaps doing shadow work. But I feel like it's more so talking about like some sort of transformation is happening. Perhaps in terms of like, but it is a very like momentous and happy energy is kind of what's coming through. But so the thing about like what's coming out with the darkening card is you have here the swan, which is talking about creativity. This card talks about sort of like how the things that we create reflect something back to us. So there could be something about like maybe you're going inward, or you're just taking time to yourself with the swan card, which talks about sort of solo time, or like alone time, like doing things on your own in order to reflect on something or to create something. Maybe like, I don't know, taking time away from perhaps like your usual routines in order to create something new, or to like reconnect with some aspect of your creativity, or whatever that is for you. I feel like there's some sort of significant transformation that's coming through in that area of your life, because there's something here about you have these three cards that came out together: the Nine of Emotions, the Two of Emotions, and the Nine of Pentacles. So both of these two cards, the nines, are very independent energies, where it's like this one here represents to me like being very independent and strong in terms of your emotions, like being able to process really difficult emotions on your own, having a lot of like emotional strength. And the Nine of Pentacles in this deck, so it talks about sort of like being able to attract and manifest all of the physical material needs that you have. And the Two of Cups coming out in between. So it could be a relationship, right? Like these two energies sort of coming together. But because it's coming out with the swan, it's also kind of talking to me about like perhaps an aspect of self here with the Two of Cups, like connecting these two aspects of self with like the sort of independence. It could also be, for some of you, just take it how it resonates, like two energies here of two really independent people who are coming together. But it's kind of more so looking to me like, for you, Scorpio, maybe there's here an energy of like, like you're very independent. You're very independent. And so maybe there's something coming in here with the Knight of Cups that was in reverse that would be more interdependent or collaborative in some way. And it's kind of like there's perhaps like this energy here of like feeling like, oh, well, because I'm independent, like I can do everything sort of on my own, that kind of energy. So it could be something like that where it's like perhaps not allowing, I'm putting that in quotations because that feels like too strong of a, like it doesn't feel like you're intentionally blocking out this energy, but it might just be something where it's like you've been doing something independently for a really long time. So it's kind of like that's a natural state of being. So it could be something like, quote unquote, not allowing this energy to come in because you're so used to doing everything on your own. maybe something like that. So this inward solo time could be something to like it's okay to accept help. It's okay to like let others into this sort of like very strong place that you're in, very independent and solo place that you're in, because I feel like there's something here as well, because I wanted to clarify what that was, because it doesn't, maybe there is a relationship that wants to come in, but you're very independent, Scorpio. But anyways, I wanted to clarify, because I don't know, for some reason it's not feeling like a relationship to me. It feels kind of like this is an aspect of self, but that of course there's reflection that's happening, right? Perhaps there's a relationship that is reflecting you in some way, but it's not, obvious. I don't know. Okay, so you have here next the 6 of Emotions and the 10 of Wands. So I feel like this is something like, this is, okay, so 6 of Emotions is the 6 of Cups, but this one talks to me about the past. Perhaps having to do with like getting a new perspective on your past or past emotions, or like past energies in some way, that perhaps have to do with like the 10 of Inspiration, which today's coming through as burden, or just like going through the motions perhaps of doing something a particular way, right? Like doing something as everybody else does it, or that kind of thing. So maybe there's some sort of like reflection happening about like this energy. It's also coming through as being like, don't compare yourself to how others are doing things. Because the nine of Emotions and the 9 of Pentacles, this is not a negative energy at all. This is positive. It's talking about your independence. And I'm just going to leave it as independence. But with the Strength card coming out next, because the Strength card to me talks about a harmonious relationship between sort of like different aspects of self, right? So logical thinking mind and intuition, that kind of thing. It's a harmonious balance. I feel like though there's something here about getting a new perspective on this, on something like this. Because there may be some sort of change happening, or like feeling really tired in some aspect of your life, or like whatever it is that you're doing, like feeling really tired or drained by a particular energy, perhaps like when you're doing this, whatever this is to you. Even though you're very strong and capable and independent, perhaps it's also on some level like draining your energy in some way for some reason. So maybe there's like a need to withdraw for a time. The next card to come out you have here is the Yellowing, which is talking about like a transition, right? There's some sort of transformation happening. There's absolutely some sort of transformation. I don't know in what way though. But the next card you have here is the Mouse card, which talks about like being very detail oriented. But I feel like sometimes the Mouse energy can come through as like kind of like just like not seeing the forest for the trees, right? Like focusing in on like little details, but not seeing the bigger picture. So there may be something like that where it's like you're withdrawing for a time in order to get like a bigger picture kind of energy, or like to like look further out ahead, or it's coming through there might be like a new project or something for you, or like a new thing that is perhaps more long-term or will take a lot more effort or something like that, or your attention in some way. Because what's coming out underneath this, you have here the Six of Swords and the Death card. So both of these talk to me about transition, right? Like there's something here as well about like the Six of Swords. This one talks to me about like moving over obstacles really quickly, because it kind of feels like to me, Scorpio, here with these energies, like maybe you've been focusing in on sort of like an obstacle. I was kind of getting this energy of like climbing up a really, really big hill. But then at the top of the hill, there's something unpleasant about that energy in some way. And so it's kind of like feeling like you're falling down that hill that you just climbed. I don't know if that, but I'm not sure if that's a worry, or if that, like it might be a worry, or that there's some sort of new perspective that you're needing on that situation that can only be done in sort of silent reflection, is how that's coming through. And with the Death card, so some sort of transformation. But what's really interesting, so you have here the Eight of Pentacles, but it came out in reverse as well. I was getting this energy here of like, okay, kind of like a long-winded metaphor, but I've been learning about like yarn, because I've been knitting, and so I've been learning about the process of making yarn. Anyways, there's this type of yarn that has silk in it, and silk is made from the cocoons of silkworms. And so in sort of like the traditional methods of making silk is that they boil the cocoons before the moth has actually emerged from it, because the cocoons, when they're intact, are formed from one long string or one long thread of silk, if that makes sense. And then, but however, of course, that's sort of like an unethical way of creating silk. So there are companies that, instead of doing that, where they kill the moths before they have a chance to live, what they do is they wait for the moth to break out of the cocoon. That's what I'm seeing here. A moth breaking out of the cocoon. So the moth lives, and then the broken cocoons are used to create the silk. But this means that the silk is broken, like there's broken threads. So it's not one long strand of silk, it's many broken threads. You can still use it. Perhaps might not be as soft or smooth as the traditional methods, but at least the moth gets to live. So Scorpio, anyways, that's such a long-winded metaphor. But anyways, because this is the Death card, this is your card, Scorpio, I'm seeing this as like you're the moth, right? That maybe there was something in perhaps having to do with like an aspect of your work or your process or whatever the Eight of Pentacles represents to you, where it's like what you were doing, or whatever it is, that maybe you're getting some sort of realization, or because the yellowing card is also a warning, can be a warning, like paying attention to something. Because if you are feeling drained, it's kind of like maybe there is something about the process of your work that was quote unquote killing the moth in order to get a really smooth single thread, right? So it could be that there's some aspect of the work that's changing for you, where it's like, instead of getting that really smooth line, you may be getting like a broken cocoon to use, which is better for the health of the moth, where you, perhaps some aspect of your health is being restored or your energy, but the process is less smooth, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. It's like all of these broken, quote unquote, broken threads, where it's like the cocoon has been broken open, but you can still do the work. It's just not as smooth, maybe something like that. But it is more, it has a more positive or beneficial outcome. Anyways, the last 4 cards, like the last couple of cards, I should say, are really positive, because you have here the benevolent guide. So it talks about like sometimes this guide energy, especially when we're in a period of like difficulty or confusion or feeling lost, like this benevolent guide energy can feel like it's like not there, but it's like this energy is constant. It's always beside you. You have guidance, you have an ally, you have support. And there was a specific line that came through the guidebook of you cannot fail when this energy is present. So there's an assurance here that whatever it is that you're going through, or whatever transition it is that you're making, it's going to be successful. You have support and guidance in whatever this is. And especially with the alchemical wedding, there's some sort of like celebration kind of energy, or like accomplishment or understanding or relief as well. But anyways, the next couple of cards here, you have the sea serpent. So this is the sacral chakra, which is sort of like the center of creativity, but it was coming through as being like the divine mother or healing. So there may be sort of like a healing energy that's coming through, like healing some aspect of whatever it was that was draining you. It's coming through as being like, sometimes this energy comes in where it's like we experience a lot of energy flowing to a particular part of our lives in order to heal it. So it could be something like that. And especially with the cards coming out here, you have the Magician, which does talk about sort of like receiving an influx of energy, perhaps in a particular aspect of your life that hasn't been, or that was needing attention in some way. But perhaps is taking you away from other aspects of your life, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like you're being asked to work with this energy, where it's like you're receiving more information or more energy in a particular aspect of your life that's not necessarily the aspect that you were focused on, if that makes sense. And you have here the moon underneath that, so it could have to do with your emotions. The full moon is also coming up, so that might be significant time frame. The color pink is also coming through. The moon is such an interesting, because this is a moon reading. So it could have to do with like your feminine energies as well. It is kind of coming through with an energy of like, so again, it's more so emphasizing like the darkness energy, or the darkening, or withdrawing, or going inward in some way. But I feel like for you, Scorpio, it's a very active process, right? It's like you're actively working with the moon or moon energies. The next cards coming out, you have here the final cards coming out. You have the Eight of Inspiration and the Chariot, which because I want to put it like this here with the light rays, because you have something here about like you're moving forward. You're moving forward, but Perhaps not in a way that you expect. Because these two, the rays here are opposite. It's kind of coming through as being sort of like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. So it might be slow going. And again, with like kind of like the smooth thread, it feels maybe like disjointed or like choppy or not a direct path, maybe. It's kind of like you have to take like the long way around, or like if you're driving somewhere, taking the short, or like taking, not a shortcut though, it's not a shortcut, like taking like the side roads, if that makes sense. Perhaps it's longer, perhaps it takes a bit longer, or that the path is not like completely smooth, or it's not like a straight line. It kind of weaves in and out is what I'm seeing here. But I feel like there's that energy is actually going to be either like more successful or in some way is more energizing. Because sometimes with this Chariot card, I see like it's a lot of work to hold on to all of these horses, if that makes sense. So maybe you're holding on to like burdens from other people, especially at the 10 of inspiration. Sometimes I see that like this, whereas this one here it's just you, if that makes sense. It's just different aspects of you, which means that it moves faster, but perhaps there's kind of like I'm not sure. I don't think the path has been cleared yet, is how it's coming through. It's like wherever it is that you're going, the path hasn't been cleared yet. So it's like the universe is taking you on detours. Does that make sense? It's not a straight line to wherever it is you're going. You got to go around like the construction zones or something. Okay, Scorpio. I'm going to leave it there. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. If you're interested in a personal reading, you can find the link in the description box. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.